Hi everyone, welcome to Product Breakdown, a weekly pod where we cover a new product every week and we share what we have been reading, a book, an article, or something that really inspired us. I'm Mayank and I have with me Shubham. Shubham, how are you, man? How's it going?
I'm good. I'm good. I see that you have a different background. Is that a Zoom background or a real one?
The real one.
Ah,
It's the sea behind me. I'm on a beach right now,
wow. On a work day, what are you doing on the beach?
working. Isn't that the life we all want?
Is that the life? That is the life we all want.
Correct.
What are you doing
Correct.
at the beach on a work day?
I'm in Cannes, in south of France. Here, I'm here for a conference.
Very cool. Are you there for the Cannes, very famous Cannes Film Festival? Have you moved to Hollywood? Have you changed
Bro,
jobs?
yeah, actually, yes, right. It's the same exact place. It's the same exact place. It's called the Cannes Lions Festival. It's a celebration of it's celebrating creativity. So film's also creative. This is also creative. The only difference is the film festival happens in May, and this happens in June. So 1 month gap, and then this is all about celebrating creativity and advertising, marketing, and that brings me here. It's told that right now this is the most creative 1 square mile radius in the world. The entire world's creative people are here right now, whether it's from London, New York, India, Australia, California. Pick a
That's
place and they
awesome.
are here.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Still doesn't answer my question. Aren't you still like a tech bro? Aren't you director of product management? How come you are there?
I think
I
it's a
didn't
good
know.
topic. It's a good topic to talk about today. Let's break down this part of it. Why are people here today, and what are we
Awesome.
doing? Right? What are the trends and learnings I've had from here? Maybe you can share them with our audience. And of course, you have a very awesome book to talk about. I'd love to hear that.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
All right.
Awesome. So talk to
Cool.
us about the Cannes festival you're attending. What are you doing
Yeah.
there and what are your biggest learnings?
Oh, what am I doing there and what's my biggest learning? Two big questions. So I think the first question is, what am I doing here? Um, so basically, this is, as I said, this is a festival where all the marketing leaders, advertising leaders, agencies, they all come here. They all come together to discuss the current trends. A lot of deals are made here. A lot of relationships are created here, which will be, nurtured in future. So it's a really good place to come and soak yourself in to get those insights of new learnings and meeting people. Why am I here as a product person? Well, if you see, like, the entire supply chain of creation of ads, it was all like, if you imagine, like, ads creation, you know that quite well, you work for Amazon, and it's all now technology and also delivered through different channels. There's technology, there is traditional TV, and so on and so forth. Now, the world is emerging, the world is coming together. So, tech is used to deliver ads, tech is used to create ads. Uh, in the creative worlds and the tech world, they're meeting together. They have merged together long back. I think 10 years back, they merged together already. So, if there is an event for creativity in advertising and marketing, you need to have all the groups. So, this is why we have Roku, we have Netflix, we have YouTube, Reddit is here, Facebook, Meta is here, Google is here. Name a company. I mean, they're all around here. There's commerce companies also. There's BCG, Digital Ventures is here. There are agencies who are here. There are platforms who does it. Amazon Ads is here. So again, the entire ecosystem is here to discuss and connect and then think about the future together. So this is why you're seeing Tech Dude here in terms of blending in the creative.
That's awesome. That makes sense to me. I think I know that tells me why you're there. Anybody interesting you heard from? Any
Yeah,
talks you went to? Anything
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to share?
Yeah, let me share a talk that inspired me and also the trend we're seeing. There were multiple talks I went to be fair. Like one part was me in at Reddit. We have a very big, pretty awesome setup here. We have a story that we are telling about our brand, about our product. And I met a lot of leaders through Reddit to understand what they are thinking and what their needs are, how they want to reach their customers, what are the different kinds of stories they want to say, what are the different means of communication, touch points we want to use in future. That's one part of my life. and I'll share like in deeper as we move forward. The second is really like meeting little like I think sessions of people or like great leaders. So the one I really liked was the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang. He talks about how will AI contribute or get embedded in the ads creation process, which it already is doing, but deeper than that, just focusing on generative AI, making better ads for the customers. But going deeper also into the sort of safety of content on the platform. If you have ads that are uh, promoting fake information, how can AI be used to sort of tap it and bring it out of the system? So it talked a lot about, I would say, making information sharing, getting the noise out of the ecosystem, getting the filth out of the ecosystem using AI. And of course, how his company is playing a role in this because that's the infrastructure layer they're building to really support this phenomenal work that you're doing. He also talks about one more thing which we discussed in the past, where what is the role of creative people in the industry? Will AI take over their jobs? This is the question we have been discussing, right? And he makes a very good point that uh, AI can generate content, but to understand the users, to understand their needs, to understand the brand sentiment, existing brand sentiment, understand what the brand wants to communicate, it's quite far from where we are with AI right now. Even with the large language models, you cannot, a Nestle, just to give life to it, if Nestle has a brand, a chocolate brand, or some fast food product they have, it's very hard to train a model to think about what the brand wants to communicate. So there will be a layer of creative people who will think about the new campaigns, the new ideas. Then comes AI to execute on them faster and better. So that was his perspective. Creativity still will be with human beings because we are creative, but the execution might somehow permeate down into towards AI or these parts of AI, the first draft and so on and so forth. So that was the talk I was really inspired by. Of course, seeing him in front of you was definitely inspiring.
That makes sense. I think it's super interesting. I think you and I have talked about this before, where as we see this, as we see AI kind of change the way people work, there's definitely going to be a shift in how humans interact with it. There's also going to be shift in the way we look at creatives and what they do, what kind of work we're going to do. But that doesn't necessarily always mean that we're going to just like not need humans. I think we'll just
Yeah,
need them in different roles, right? They'll be like, and maybe even I would even go ahead and say, to your point, right, we might need them more because the ultimate AI model or the generated output is only as good as the the things that you feed into the model, right? And so somebody has to think through it, somebody has to think about the brand, somebody has to think about the brand strategy, and so you'll still need people to do that. That's super
yeah.
interesting.
A
Yeah,
a
it's
good
also nice.
example, a good example, which again, I'm not from this creative narrative building, storytelling background, so it was new to me. But when they broke it down for me, it made a lot of sense. Which was, let's say you are working on a McDonald's campaign. How do we communicate the chicken nuggets as a story? And uh, and you came up with a new concept. Uh, and the concept is a story about how the chicken nugget uh, comes from, let's say, from the farm to the table, and then it talks about the crunchiness of it in a way which is analogous to something that you eat otherwise. My point is the storyboarding, they do it. The creative people sit together, they do it. The creative agencies do it. Now that cannot be replicated on the AI side, but the moment storyboarding is done, and if you want a picture that shows a chicken nugget with a little bit of ketchup on top of it, you can just type that, and the AI will generate that image for you to tell the story. So I think the story creation is still a creative process, which will be with the creative or humans, if you will, for the quality, like very quality stories, and beyond that, the execution might go towards the AI models and the native AI technology that we are seeing everywhere right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Any new trends you want to talk about? Anything you saw that kind of caught your eye?
I think, look, not every trend is cool to be discussed because some things we know about and we go deeper. So one good question was about uh, the how do you create partnerships? Now again, coming from product management, coming from engineering like yourself, we don't go deep. I mean, from your Yale MBA, I think you'll connect with the story. It was the I think CMO of Delta Airlines. I love Delta. I'm a big Delta person. Um, and the C one of the VPs or SVPs of Amex Delta Platinum card, the Amex portfolio of cards that Delta has. They spoke about how they think about building a partnerships together and ethos of a partnership, the ethos of the uh, users, creating value for the users, the mindset of building products together as two different companies for one user is a very hard problem. I never thought of that, like, and in that discussion brought points like how do we set principles that resonate with our culture and also connects with the user, but a shared goals for us as we move forward. It's very easy said, setting shared goals, but to go and execute at that scale with a multi-billion-dollar brands at stake is crazy. And they have been doing this for over 60 years now. So I think those stories, which are non-tech, were very inspiring for me to see that world. With one part. And the other part was getting exposed to, again, I'm sharing this because it's important for our audience to know that there's a world beyond technology, there's a world beyond AI. That's like real people, real industry, real problems. So my experience with them was about meeting different verticals. I met CMOs from let's say a Wendy's. Wendy's is a restaurant chain. So then we met like leaders from CPG Group, like Nestle and so on and so forth. Then from technology space, from Amazon, our team went there. Leadership was there, and they have different needs. Ab InBev, which is a different kind of company which focuses on beer and so on and so forth. So I think learning about what kind of audience they are trying to talk to, what is their messaging, what is their mechanism to reach them, that too in 3 days, that level of learning is impossible when you're sitting in San Francisco or anywhere in the world, right? That's what happens when you are in a network, in an ecosystem where all of them are there. This is not like some beginners. Yeah, very accomplished, very deep thoughts about the industry people. Uber was there. We spoke to them as well. So I think those were interesting learning for me. Now take the team and think about how to uh, create a strategy that is holistic or maybe not holistic and focus on one segment. So I think my learning has been more domain learnings of
Yeah,
businesses around versus just technology.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. Thank you for sharing your learnings. I think it was super informative for me too. I'm sure people hearing this, listening to our pod, would also appreciate everything they learned from you. So that's awesome. I'm like, it was informational for me. I'm sure for everybody who's going to listen to the pod, it's going to be amazing too. Anything else you want to share with us?
No, first of all, bro, you should come here next time. You work on Amazon ad. I'm telling you, like you build technology, but there's nothing like coming and meeting people from the industry and people who are so different from what we need to do. These are the people who are so creative, so thoughtful. So please, next time we come together,
Yes, we should do that.
right? Exactly. One more thing is like on this Scott Galloway session, I think that was an exciting one. The podcast Pivot is pretty famous that we all listen to. That was one regret, I would say. And lastly, I made a lot of friends. Just walk sometimes like walking around and people are wearing bags, so they are here. So just meeting them, making new connections, and yeah, really meeting. So it was good experience. In a short time, got to do a lot. All right, man. Moving on to the book now. The
Right.
read of the week. Shivam, what have you been reading? Inspire us with your read.
Let's do it. Yeah, I've been reading this book called Never Split the Difference. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but here's the book. It's a book by Chris Voss. And I'll tell you, this is the third time I'm reading it.
Wow.
And I go revisit this book every now and then. This book has taught me a lot, and I'm trying to execute and implement a lot of the strategies that Chris talks about. So let me talk to you about what the book is.
Yeah,
So,
please.
in really quick sense, I think it's literally a book about negotiation. It's it. Chris was an FBI negotiator for multiple decades, and he's basically has his learnings from some of the most stressful times. Basically, he used to negotiate with let's say bank robbers or people who take hostages, right? And so he talks through those stories, and he literally talks about the strategies and tactics that he used during those times to negotiate out of those extremely high emotion, very drastically like cornered situation, and how he found his way out of them. He also, by the way, teaches some courses at Harvard now, so he's pretty well renowned. So my takeaways from the book, I think big things. He does talk about this idea that I think some of the things that he refutes that we used to think about negotiation before. You would go to an academic institution, they'll teach you about these things about win-win negotiation and keeping rationality as a driver. Like, these are the things he refutes, and it's so counterintuitive to me, because he's saying, look, not all situations require a win-win, right? So for example, if somebody's taking somebody on a gunpoint, like, there is no
Mhm.
win-win. You either get the hostage out or not, right? So there is no win-win there. So you have to figure out how to not necessarily always go to a
Yep,
compromise and an ideal outcome. The second
absolutely.
big the second big thing for me is this idea that we should always have rational and rationality drive the negotiations, which is also a very academic thing. But what he talks about is like, we are not rational when like emotions are running high. We are emotional, so you can't just set aside your emotions. You have to accept them, and then you have to figure out how to work with emotional intelligence to basically navigate that situation. Such a good thing for me, right? Like, I learned it hard way. Most meetings, when tempers get high, right, you have to really navigate that meeting. You have to accept that the emotions are there, right? You can't just let them aside. Third big thing, and the last one that I learned out of this, is that somehow, like, there's another one that I read about, which is how to grow the pie and stuff, right? So there's this whole technique in like business school they teach you, but it's all around like being nice. And he's like, look, being respectful is important, right? Understanding the other person's point of view is important, not necessarily being nice, right? You don't necessarily go into a conflict and be nice about it. You can still be assertive and respectful at the same time. So these are my learnings. He shares a lot of tactics on how to do this. I'm still trying to learn them. So that's the book.
No, no, I, you know, this I read the book once, so I remember now. I recollect. You're right. The moot point is you talk about is it's not winning or losing always. And in the early days of a career, or also as as you're growing up, we think you have to get a closure at that moment. You have to do it, and logic and data and rational is important. And if you have it right, you can close it. You're so right. The best negotiation sometimes is by not talking. You're so right. I remember the book. I think I told you about this. And sometimes these signals come to you from people also. Like the wisdom of this book also comes from people. Sometimes when you read the book, you connect with the wisdom and take the signal. I was in a thread with one of my, let's say, like colleague, and it was very aggressive conversation from their side. And my engineering counterpart, let's say, like same level, like some director or senior director was also there. And there was a long thread they were typing, and this guy said one thing, just one thing. Mayank, disengage. Such a powerful one word. It was a Friday evening. I'm like, oh, yeah, disengage. I just disengaged, you know? And it was
Yeah.
such a powerful thing. So I love this book. I really, and also I connect with you that every time you read this book, you get something new from the book.
Oh,
So
100%. Yeah.
love it. Never split a difference. Absolutely great book. Really good read, man. It's a pretty interesting read.
Yeah. Yeah. I am looking forward to finishing it the third time. You enjoy your time in France. Thank you
Awesome.
for, showing us around. It looks beautiful. I hope you get to also spend some time by yourself, like not necessarily just work 24/7. So I know
right.
you might be jet lagged too. So
Oh man, I came this for 3 days, so I'm flying out tomorrow morning at
okay.
6:30. So I'll see you on the other side next week, and please share your comments. We know it was not a product breakdown, but it was a conference breakdown. So I hope you like the experience of showing you around. And please like, share, subscribe. We'll chat with you next week. Bye, everyone. Okay.